everybody, I hope you're all having a wonderful Friday. Today I want to actually go over what I have personally been doing in my workouts recently. So I have really just been focusing on some of the main full body compound lifts. I've been concentrating on those, and I've been concentrating on them with lightweight, and I'll tell you why, because I, truth be told, really only got into them kind of shortly before COVID, actually. I went to the gym, and I was one of the people that, I used like the leg press and like some of those machines, and and I used free weights too, but I use them more for the, more the isolation movements. I did do, overhead press and stuff, but I found, I was in my comfort zone, and I'd never really done squats. I'd never really done deadlifts. Here and there, but not, I didn't make them like a huge part of my routine. Until I started working out at home, and it was kind of all I had access to. So, but these movements are really, these lifts are really important, and they really should be kind of, the main part of anyone's lifting routine. So I would like to show you what I do. Right now I'm just focusing on 5 lifts. I do my squat, back squat, my deadlift, overhead press, and row, bent over row, and the bench press, dumbbell bench press. I pretty much do everything with dumbbells except for the squat and the deadlift. Those I use a curl bar for, mostly because with everything going on, it was kind of the only thing I could get at the moment. So that's what I use. But those are the main things. And then I do some ab work, and maybe I'll do that in a separate video. So I usually start with, I'll do a little warm up. I often do a little bit of jump rope. I started jumping rope during COVID, because it was kind of, I hate running, and it was kind of the only cardio that I really wanted to get into. And I will admit that all of a sudden I realized that my calves were a lot bigger. And that's like actually a point, one of my weak points, and I always felt like my calves didn't really like match the rest of my body. And then when I started jumping rope, all of a sudden I had bigger calves, and that was kind of cool. So I try to do that as a warm up, and so I'm gonna start with my squat, my back squat. And like I said, I use light weights because I want to focus on the form, and I don't want to be struggling under the weight in order to do that. And I've been doing these now for quite a few months, and it can take a long time to, I don't know if probably some people truly master them, but so rest this over the shoulders, and my feet are a little bit kind of hip width apart, maybe a teensy bit wider, toes kind of pointed out just a teensy bit. You don't want to be like that, but just a little bit. And then what I like to do pretty much before I do anything else is I make sure my core is engaged, so that my spine is nice and straight, and that it's you've got it, what's the word? You're supporting it. Your spine is nice and supported. There it is. So you want to make sure your spine is nice and supported, your core is engaged. And I'm going to go all the way down. And this is something that is, you know, fairly new to me. I always kind of went halfway down. But it occurred to me, and, you know, with listening to different things and reading different things, that the full range of motion is really super important. So for the last couple of months, I've been practicing it, you know, full range of motion, you know, going as far down as I can. And it hasn't hurt my knees at all. So here we go. I'm going to, you know, you do basically want your weight to be as even in your feet as possible, but do, you know, make sure your heels don't come off the floor. So a little, you know, maybe a little bit more weight in your heels, but you want it, you know, to be pretty even. So I'm going to go straight down and straight back up. And you want your back to be as straight as possible. You don't want to like lean too far forward, because then it gets into more of a hip hinge. You want it to be more as straight up and down as you can get it. And obviously there's a lot of variations to the squat. You've got the front squat, the back squat. You know, all the different variations work slightly different muscles. You know, your back squat works more your glutes and your hamstrings. Your front squat works more your quads. And you can do, you know, single leg squats, which are killer. But my focus right now is just doing these as, you know, as good as I can get them. So I'm going to switch the weights here and get into my deadlift. And again, I do these at a fairly light weight, because I want to do a lot of them. I don't want to kill myself. And I want, you know, I don't want to be struggling under the weight. I want to work, you know, I want to think about my form, worry about my form more than how much I'm actually lifting. So, you know, you're kind of going to be in, from the start, you're kind of going to be in a similar to where you are in the squat, where, you know, legs about hip width apart. Feet, you know, straight ahead, or, you know, maybe slightly out, but I think straight ahead's a little better. And then I'm going to come down, grab the bar, and kind of set myself back a little bit. Make sure my back is straight, and lift straight up. And at the end, squeeze those glutes. And then put the bar back down. And what I'm not going to do is just immediately pick it back up again. I'll either set it down and kind of stay here, set myself up again, engage my core, and lift. Because you want this to come, this is a hip hinge movement, so you want it to come more from in here. This is working your back as well as your legs. And, you know, you want to make sure, in order to get yourself in the proper position starting out, don't just immediately go back into it, because you're not going to be in the same, you're probably going to be a little bit more forward. You want to make sure that you're in the right position when you start, even, you know, taking a step back, going back to it, setting yourself back up, and then lifting. Again, you want your weight to be, you know, pretty evenly distributed in your feet, but a little bit more in your heels, so that you're not, you know, you're not on your toes. So that's the deadlift. And again, I don't go, you know, 1, 2, like you definitely want to, when you put the weight back down, settle yourself, get yourself back into your starting position, a really good starting position, and then lift again. Don't just hammer them out. So after I do those 2 things, then I move on to my, you know, more my upper body. And, you know, the upper body stuff I've been doing for longer. So I go with a slightly bigger, you know, slightly more weight because I've been doing these movements for a lot longer than the other 2. So I have a little bit more of a handle on them. But I first do the overhead press, and I actually start from here. You can start from here and just, you know, up and down. I like to get a little bit more of the biceps in there. So I start from down here, bring the weight up to here, and then all the way up into the press and back down. And again, you want to make sure that you're not like, you know, sticking your butt out or anything while you're doing it. You want to keep, you know, keep your tailbone tucked, keep your abs engaged. You know, pretty much for everything, that's a running theme in pretty much all of my videos is keep your core engaged. And from the overhead press, I do a bent over row, and I've been doing these a long time with one arm, you know, bent over the bench. But one day I was short on time and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna do them at the same time. And this may or may not be good, but again, I've been doing rows for years and years and years. So I figured I'd be okay, and I haven't had any problems yet. So, you know, it may not be, you know, if you're trying to concentrate, you know, it does require some more concentration because you're moving both your arms at the same time, as opposed to just thinking about one. But like I said, I've been doing rows forever, so so I start here, bend over, and I let them hang, like just let your shoulder blades go all the way down. And because you want full range of motion in these, and you're gonna bring your shoulder blades back first, then the rest of it. Shoulder blades back first, then the rest of it. And you're squeezing those shoulder blades together at the top. So shoulder blades, then the rest. And again, this is a good, you know, keeping your abs engaged. If you're doing just one arm, it's gonna look pretty much the same, except you're gonna be bent over the bench. And again, you want that full range of motion where you're letting your shoulder blade go all the way down, and then you're starting the motion with that muscle there. And so from the row, I move on to the bench press, and I use pretty much the same weight for all of these, although it's probably a little bit, it's like pretty much perfect for the row and the overhead press, and it's a little bit probably too light for the bench press. But I'm on this backwards, but that's okay. So laying back, again, full range of motion, going from here all the way up. And what's really important about your bench press is one, you don't want to like arch your back or anything. You kind of want to keep your back, in a neutral position. And you also, in the coming back, as you're coming back, do it. That's the most important part. That's where, if you don't do it with control, that's where you're going to get injured, because then your shoulders have to stop the weight. So you really need to remember to come back with control. Otherwise, you're going to get in trouble with your shoulders. So that's basically my workout. And then after I do all this, I go into some ab work. And you know what? I think I'm gonna leave that video for Sunday. And then I just confirmed with my friend that next week we're going to start doing our Army Combat Fitness Test training, which we're both very excited about. So we're gonna work on that next week. Very excited. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to my video. Please share it. And I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon and weekend. I will see you Sunday for the second half of my personal workout. And I hope you all have a great day.